Welcome to President and Treasurer Training. So, for a recap, where does club money come from? Club money is distributed by the Student Activities Budget Committee. The chairperson of the Budget Committee can always be reached at sabclc@fordham.edu. SABC will hear every appropriate appeal that it receives and pledges to vote impartially on each appeal. Only United Student Government approved and officially recognized undergraduate clubs are able to appeal or reallocate funds through SABC. The process is student run. The committee meets every other Wednesday, with some exceptions, from 2:30 to 5 p.m. The committee is comprised of 11 voting members and the USG treasurer. The 11 voting members are as follows: either the president or vice president of United Student Government, representatives from the Commuting Students Association, the Residence Hall Association, and the Campus Activities Board, one United Student Government senator representative, three club e-board representatives, the dean of students, the director of student involvement, and an additional student affairs administrator. There are several ways to obtain funding. The majority of SABC funding is decided at budget packet submission, submitted at the middle of each semester with appeals for the following semester, along with updated operations paperwork. Budget packets are reviewed and voted on at budget days. Appeals and reallocations. These are additional funding requests that are heard at the biweekly committee meetings. SABC committee meeting dates. The SABC will meet at the following dates in the fall semester: September 11th, 12th, October 9th, 23rd, and 4th. Outside of these dates, appeals cannot be heard. Please note that there is a large gap between October 23rd and the December 4th meeting, so please make sure you get in all appeals and reallocations before that October 23rd date. For the spring semester, the committee will meet on January 22nd, February 5th and 19th, March 4th and 18th, and April 1st. Appeals and reallocations to be heard at the biweekly meetings must be submitted via email in Excel format to sabclc@fordham.edu by 2 p.m. on the Friday before the Wednesday meeting. The club advisor must email their approval of the submission by 1 p.m. on the Tuesday before the Wednesday meeting. Please note that any late appeals cannot be heard by the committee, so they must be submitted by 2 p.m. on the Friday before a Wednesday meeting. Appeals and reallocations forms. They are submitted on an event-by-event basis, no later than that 2 p.m. on the Friday before the SABC meeting schedule. Appeals are reviewed and voted on at SABC meetings by the 11 aforementioned voting members. Clubs are notified by the Friday after the Wednesday meeting when their appeal or reallocation was heard. Notification will be sent via email to the form submitted. So please note that when you are appealing for an item to be heard at the Wednesday meeting, you will not be notified until the Friday after the appeal has been heard. An appeal is a request for more money for an existing event, money for a new event, or money that was denied in the initial budget request. This is always a request for new money. Reallocations is a request to spend money that has already been given to your club by SABC to be used in a different manner than for which it was originally granted. There is also an appeal and reallocation form. This is a different form that's used when the first reallocation isn't enough money to cover the total new cost of the items, and additional funds are needed to be allocated. So if your previous event costs $150 and the new event that you're wanting to reallocate for costs $200, you'll need to fill out the appeal and reallocation form, where you will reallocate the $150 from the previous event, but also ask for an additional $50 for this same new event. There's also a speaker, performer, or service provider form. All submissions for events that feature an individual from outside the university or a faculty or graduate student performing or speaking in some capacity must include a resume and form highlighting the individual's qualifications and relevance to a club's mission. This includes speaking at an event, participating at a panel, teaching a class, etc. Even if they are not getting paid, you must submit the speaker form. Dinner outings. There is a special form to appeal for dinner outings to bring students to restaurants. This form is used for any meal outing at a restaurant, so if it's a lunch outing, it would still go on the dinner outing form. Please note that for dinner outing forms, there must be an educational component, so we recommend that clubs consider including a topic of discussion that they intend to discuss during their outing. Each form asks questions about how your events are relevant to your club's mission and how they will benefit the Fordham community. We ask that you take time to be thoughtful and craft your answers to each of these questions on each form that you submit. The committee takes the time to read through and consider these answers thoroughly, so we ask that you do the same when you're creating your forms. Detailed names, quantities, and prices of each distinct item your club will purchase must be included in your forms. Taxes automatically added to item prices via the Excel formula. When your club has been approved for a specific itemization, you cannot change it without submitting a reallocation and having SABC approve it. For example, if your club was approved for $7.50 to get 3 sodas from Morton Williams, you cannot use that $7.50 to get 5 sodas from Western Beef. You also can't use it to get sandwiches from Morton Williams. Some advice for itemization. If you are ordering something that will be delivered to campus, you can send a tax exemption form to the vendor. Do not appeal for tax for these items. In the form, you'll be able to set the tax rate as 0% in order to remove tax for these items. In most cases, deliveries will require you to tip. Please appeal for an appropriate tip of approximately 10% in this case. If you're going to the vendor to buy the item with petty cash or getting reimbursed, you will need to pay tax to the vendor. Please appeal for tax for this type of item. It is helpful to specify in the additional information section of your form if your items will be delivered or if you will be picking them up. As we mentioned earlier, there is a special dinner outings form. This form is designed to be used for an outing to a restaurant hosting up to 15 students. The form asks for special considerations about how holding the event off campus at a restaurant will be educational and valuable for attendees. We ask that you are thorough and answer all of these questions. There are some new guidelines for possible itemizations. A club can request $25 per student for up to 15 students, including tax and tip, or $30 per student for up to 12 students, including tax and tip. Please note that $25 and $30 itemizations should be a flat fee, and tax and tip are included within the $25 or the $30, not in addition to. Only 2 outings per club per semester can be requested. Whether SABC approves 2 outings is contingent upon funding availability for the semester. Your club may appeal for $30 for 15 attendees as well. Your club may not get petty cash for this type of dinner outing. It will need to be done through the office credit card. We will need to sign a credit card authorization form, and the credit card number will need to be provided to the restaurant in advance, as the credit card cannot leave campus. After the Friday at 2 p.m. submission deadline, all appeals for the next meeting are reviewed by the Associate Director for Student Involvement, Christina Frankovic-Shepsky. After this review, it may be deemed that your appeal needs to be corrected or amended in some way before it reaches the full committee the following Wednesday. You will be contacted about necessary corrections, if any, by Friday night. Corrected appeals must be returned by Monday at 1 p.m. If revisions to your budget packet are requested and corrections are not submitted by the due date, your appeal will be considered void and not heard. All appeals and reallocations must be approved by your advisor. A club advisor must send an email to sabclc@fordham.edu copying the club, voicing their approval. This is considered an electronic signature. Advisor approvals are due by 1 p.m. the Tuesday before the Wednesday SABC meeting. If an appeal does not receive its advisor approval before the deadline, it is invalid and will not be heard by the committee. There are no exceptions to this policy. Student involvement members cannot sign for your club. You must get your club advisor's approval. It is advisable that you stay in relatively close contact with your club's advisor. We recommend you meet with your advisor early on in the year to figure out ways you prefer to communicate. Check with your advisor to find out how much notice they would like before form approval deadlines. Once you've been approved, you can purchase items that SABC has allocated funds for with the Office for Student Involvement via credit card, by requesting petty cash in advance or by buying items out of pocket and getting reimbursed. Do not spend money you have not been allocated. You will not be reimbursed. Keep records. Make sure to always keep photocopies of all of your receipts. All self-generated funds must be deposited with student involvement and will be kept for your club. If you're unsure if your club has self-generated funds, you can always visit Sandy Vargas in the office, and she can help you with figuring out whether or not your club already has some self-generated funds. SABC follows a set of guidelines. The guidelines are located in OrgSync under the Files tab in your club portal for your reference. All club presidents and treasurers should review the guidelines to make sure that the funding requests are appropriate and follow the guidelines. SABC will never vote to break their guidelines. Save your group the frustration of being denied by not appealing for things that the committee cannot approve. If you have an idea for an event that you are not sure would be approved by the committee, meet with the SABC chairperson or schedule a meeting with the associate director for programming prior to submitting your appeal. For Club Day, SABC will fund either food or giveaways, not both. The maximum for giveaways at Club Day is $300 for the full year or 400 items, or you can appeal for these by semester at $150 or 200 items. If your club giveaway is a food product, you can appeal for $75 worth per semester. Broadway show tickets and other high-value ticket outings must be assigned to attendees through a lottery of all interested in attending. Expensive events, that is events over $25 in cost, attendees will have to pay 1/3 of the ticket price. Less expensive tickets purchased in advance may require students to pay a refundable $5 deposit. SABC will always inform you if a deposit is required. SABC will fund half the cost of t-shirts. The remainder must be paid for by the students or fundraising. SABC will only fund apparel other than t-shirts if club members are required to match and will only fund up to 1/3 of the price. For example, if there's an athletic club that's required to wear a uniform, SABC can fund up to 1/3 of the price. SABC will not fund any club or organization which is exclusionary. SABC will not fund end-of-semester parties or dinners. SABC can fund food but not giveaways for one out of the first 3 club general meetings of the semester. The committee cannot fund over $100 for a first general meeting. SABC will not fund food for any meetings after one of those first 3 club general meetings of the semester. Here's the updated large-scale event policy. The maximum amount that SABC will fund for an event is as follows. $3,000 for an event appealed for by 1 club, $3,750 for an event co-sponsored with 2 clubs, $4,250 for an event co-sponsored with 3 clubs, and $4,500 for an event co-sponsored with 4 clubs. This is for events that would not use Aramark Catering. For events with Aramark Catering, the maximum amount that SABC will fund for an event which features Aramark Catering is as follows. $4,000 for an event appealed for by 1 club, $4,750 for an event co-sponsored with 2 clubs, $5,250 for an event co-sponsored by 3 clubs, and $5,500 for an event co-sponsored by 4 or more clubs. Additional funding may be approved on a case-by-case basis if that funding is needed to cover Aramark labor charges that were instituted last academic year. Local conferences in the 5 boroughs or tri-state or regional area can be granted for up to $3,000. Non-local travel will be funded for up to 3 students and 1 chaperone. Please review the full travel policy and the SABC guidelines to be familiar with all the policies prior to submitting an appeal for travel. Budget days. For the spring 2020 semester, your budget packet for your club will be due on Wednesday, October 23rd at 2 p.m. Budgets will be reviewed on Wednesday, November 13th and Wednesday, November 20th. Please make sure that you are submitting your budget packet no later than October 23rd at 2 p.m. or you will be subject to the late penalty on your budget. If there are vacancies in your club and you've conducted an election to fill those vacancies, those must be filled out by Thursday, December 5th at 5 p.m. That must be filled out in OrgSync. If there are no vacancies in your club, you do not need to fill out the OrgSync updates. For fall 2020, your budget packet and all OrgSync updates are due on Wednesday, April 1st at 2 p.m. This means your club must conduct elections before Wednesday, April 1st, so that you will be able to submit your new board in OrgSync by that deadline. As a reminder, this must be submitted by Wednesday, April 1st at 2 p.m., and these are for items that you would like to spend in fall 2020. The fall budget days will occur on Wednesday, April 22nd and Wednesday, April 29th. You can email your budget packet to sabclc@fordham.edu and leave a physical copy in the SABC mailbox in G60.